Yo, what's good, y'all? In today's video, I got part 2 of the beginner guide to scripting in Roblox. If you didn't see part 1, which was like an hour long, go watch that because I covered some topics and stuff. So I'm just gonna extend the series. I don't have as many topics as I discussed in part 1 to talk about now. If you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments. Maybe I'll cover them in the next part and stuff. But I just got like a few extra topics that I didn't cover at the end of the video because it was already an hour long, and then a few extra that one of my subscribers commented and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna just go through those. These are definitely very important things, very useful things. So yeah, like I said, if you didn't already watch part 1, go watch it. Thank y'all for all the love and support you guys been showing the channel, especially part 1. I'll keep the series going as long as you guys keep showing the video love. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so for the first thing I'm gonna talk about is I'm gonna talk about for loops slash for I, or actually, let me put it like this. They're just called for loops. Yeah. Okay, so for loops, but I'm also going to talk about for IV and pair loops and stuff. They're they fall under the same category as like for loops, but they work a little differently. I'm going to show you guys in a second what I'm talking about. Okay. So, an example of this would be, so say you guys know let's see, a match. Yeah. You guys know, like in an FPS game, right? Y'all know how like when the match starts and stuff. I mean, there aren't really much FPS games. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that genre kind of died on Roblox now that I really think about it. Like, it's all fighting games. There are no really shooting games that are. But anyway, so you guys know how like at the top of your screen when you be playing games like Arsenal and stuff back in the day, there would be like a timer at the top of the screen. It would be like, to the left the minutes, to the right the seconds. So 2 minutes, 50 seconds, then it'll keep counting down, 49, 48, 47. It would just keep counting down, right? So those timers and stuff, they are used most of the time. They're made by using a for I loop and stuff. So let me show you guys. I'm gonna first show you guys a for I loop, then I'm gonna show you guys a for IV and pair loop. If you guys have seen, if you're like, you've seen my other videos and stuff, you've definitely seen me use these. If you've watched my other videos, you've definitely seen me use these before. Okay, so first we have a for I loop. So it's just as it sounds, a for I, well, we don't actually say loop and stuff, right? So the way this works, we're going to say for I is equal to, so I right here, right, this is a variable, right? We're initializing a variable. It's not obviously our normal local variable and stuff, but this is a variable. Like, this is a, or more like a value, I guess you could say, but it is kind of a variable that we can call on, right, within the loop. So the way this works is there needs to be 3, or usually I should say there's 3 values, right? First, you have your starting value, right? So say if I wanted to make a countdown that went 10, 9, 8, and it counted down to 1, first thing first is your starting value. So I'm going to put 10. That's where I want to start. Then comma, you're going to put when you want it to stop and stuff, right? Like, it's gonna go, like, it's gonna, this is the start, this is where you want it to stop. So I'm gonna put 1 comma. Now for our last value, you're going to put the changer. This is the modifier. This is what happens. This is either going to be a positive number or it's going to be a negative number. So if you put, like, well, all of these can be either negative or positive number, but I'm saying with this, if you want it to increase, go up, like go 1, 2, 3, 4, you will leave this as a positive 1. If you wanted it to go 10, 9, 8, 7, then you would do -1, but you'd obviously would have to, you would want this to be -1, so it goes 10, 9, 8, go down, right? But yeah, so since we want it to go from 10 to 1, we're going to need to do a -1, right? We want it to go down. Then you would press enter or just type do and then enter, right? Oh, let's ignore that. But yeah, so we have our for I loop, right? So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Now, these are a little different than while loops, which I will cover and stuff. If you know what while loops are, you know that they, if you don't put a wait in between them, it'll crash the server. With for I loops, that will not happen. Like, it'll just play instantly. Like, pretty much just like this, right? I'm gonna put print, right? I'm gonna say print in quotation marks. We're gonna say the number is dot dot dot, and then we're gonna put I, because you guys see how it's a value, it's number. So if I press run, right, remember we inserted a server script into server script service. So if I press run, right, you're gonna see in the output, right, you're gonna see, you guys see how it printed the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Well, it went 10 to 1, you guys see, because at the top it goes top to bottom, so you guys see how it counted down from 10 to 1, right? So you see how it was instant, right? But for an actual countdown, we would want it to, be in second intervals. So First thing first, I'm gonna put a space here just so it's separated. So, put a space, we of course would do task.wait 1 second because we want it to be, one every 1 second. We want it to go down every 1 second. You guys see 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? So it's just like that. So that's pretty much how for i loops work and stuff. So if you really just wanted to have something repeat itself multiple times, like in that time period for a certain amount of time, I guess you could say, set amount of times, then you would use a for i loop. Like, for example, obviously countdowns, timers. Other things would be, I used it for like a punch barrage attack, like like when you see fist going really fast and stuff. So you could for like a punch barrage attack. It has a lot of use and stuff, but what comes to mind for me is really timers and countdowns. Now I'll talk about for i v impaired loop, for I comma v impairs loop. These are a little different, right? So for i v impaired loop, for i v impairs loop. These get the children of instances. Now, to explain what that means, because I'm assuming you guys probably a little confused. So the children, if you don't understand what the children mean, right? You guys know in real life how you have a parent and then a child. Do you guys see how server script service are here? If I click the script, you'll notice how the parent, it says the parent of the script is server script service. That's because it's parented to it, right? The script is a child of server script service because it is inside. Pretty much the children or anything that is inside of the instance. So since the script is inside of the server script service, it is a child of server script service. So an example of children would be, for example, right, your character. A child of your character would be the humanoid, or it would be your head, your hand, your arms, your legs. These are all examples of children, right? These children are parented to your character inside of workspace, right? So that's how it is. So for i v impairs loops are used to get the children. So pretty much say like this, right? Say if I had if I wanted to make it so that my player's character, or not my player's character, actually, no, let's do like this. I'm gonna insert some parts, right? So I'm gonna just duplicate them by spamming Control D, and then let's place them close to each other, but not, right there, right? So we have a whole bunch of different parts, right? And then let's say, I don't know. Let's just assume they had different names, right? Let's just assume. I know they all have the same name, but let's just say it was part 1, part 2, part 3, etc., right? So let's assume they all had different names, right? But I wanted to get all of the parts, and I wanted to change all of their colors at once. Now, obviously, I could just do workspace.part1, .part2, .part, but obviously that would take too long. That's wasting a lot of time. Instead, what we can do is we can use a for i v impairs loop to get all of the children of the workspace, check to make sure that they're a part, and then change their color. So here's how we would set this up. We would say for I comma v impairs, right? And the way this works is you're going to see an array or dictionary table, so you can use it for tables as well. You're going to put the instance that you're trying to get the children of. So in this case, our instance would be the workspace. So we say workspace : get children, then enter, right? So now we've gotten all the children. Now you don't have to name these I and V. Honestly, since you guys are beginners, I would honestly give them actual specific names. Like, that's honestly better. It helps you remember what exactly this is. So you could say this is a number. So you could put like number or amount, and you can name this I don't know, part. Yeah, you could really rename V to part, right? So the way we check to make sure that it that it is a part, you guys remember conditional statements that I covered in part 1. We would say if V is a quotation marks part, right? Then if it is a part, enter. We would then say V dot brick color is equal to brick color dot new, right? And then in quotation marks, I would put really red or whatever color you guys want. So boom, that's how for i v impairs loop will work. Pretty much they're meant to really save time and stuff, right? So if I press run now, you guys see how literally everything is red and stuff, right? You guys see how literally all the parts inside of workspace are red, right? So that's pretty much it. So the difference between the I and the V, like the first value and the second value, the first value is the number, right? So pretty much it's like this. So once it goes through all of the children in the workspace, and then it gets only the parts, the I would be the number. So since there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, parts, then it would count 8 different times. So it would be 8 different numbers, right? V is the actual specific instance, right? This is how you actually get, like, the properties, the transparency, the color, the material, the position, the C frame, da da da. So that's how you use for frame pairs loops. These are extremely essential for almost anything you can imagine. UI scripting, definitely combat scripting, of like handling effects. Very useful for a lot of different things. Data storage, extremely useful. Highly recommend using them. Now we can move on to while loops, which I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of while loops, right? So while loops, you write it honestly as it sounds. While, and then here you put something. You could put a wait. You could say task.wait 1 second, but most people usually just do true. So while true, enter. So while true. So what this pretty much means is while whatever your condition is right here is set to like, as long as the condition is met, this loop will continue to run. So this loop right here, we have it, right? So say if I said while true do, then print in quotation marks, the loop is running, right? If I were to press run or play right now, right, the server would pause, like it would freeze for a few seconds and stuff, because it wouldn't crash, but it would like kind of crash, because you can't have a while loop that's constantly running. That's way too much pressure on the server. What you need to do is put a wait in all of your while loops. You have to have some type of wait. It can literally be 0.1 seconds. Like, it doesn't matter. It just has to be some type of wait that is obviously more than 0 seconds. Because you guys can see, the server can clearly handle this and stuff. Now, obviously, in an actual server, it might be, like too many while loops running every 0.1 seconds might be, too much. But generally speaking, it can handle while loops that are running every 0.1 seconds, right? You guys see how it keeps counting up, because every 0.1 seconds the loop is running, because the condition, we just put while true do and stuff. There's no way it could be false unless we actually press stop and then change it to false, right? So say if I created a variable, so local variable is equal to true, right? And if I said, the way you do it is you can say while variable is equal to true do, right? So as long as it's equal to true. So if I press run, it's going to continue to run because it's, we set it to true. Now if I press stop and then I set this to false, which it's false now, the condition statement will not, the condition is not being met. The while loop, as you can clearly see, is not running and stuff. The condition has to be met for the while loop to continue running. While loops, once again, very useful. Usually use these to check for things. Like, use it for drop. Definitely drops. I just used it for drop. Like spawn rates and stuff, like of bosses. I don't know, items, keys. Like things players can unlock and stuff. Like things, events that happen every, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours and stuff. So while loops are very essential. You just have to know how to use them, right? So that you don't, crash your server and stuff. A basic example of using a while loop would be if I were to do workspace dot baseplate dot color equals color3 dot new. We could change the color of the base plate, right? So actually, instead of changing it, let's actually do I don't think there's a color3 dot random. Yeah, we're gonna do brick color dot random, right? Which pretty much means it'll give us a random color. So we're gonna need to change this to brick color, and then remember what I said, we're gonna need to have a task dot wait. So let's do this where it's every 0.3 seconds it's going to change the color. Now, since we set the variable's value back to true, the loop will now run. So here's an example of the usage of it. You guys will see every 0.3 seconds the base plate changes color and stuff. Not gonna lie, the colors are bright as shit, like damn. But anyway, moving on. That's it. That's really for while loops. Now I'm gonna cover data stores. Now I feel like data stores are kind of in between beginner and intermediate. I mean, I feel like honestly only intermediate level scripters should be using data stores, but I feel like it's still important to just generally discuss how data stores are used, how they're made, and yeah, just an introduction to it. But you guys really shouldn't be using data stores and stuff, because that's like intermediate level stuff, especially knowing how to properly use them. So the data store service lets you store data that needs to persist between sessions, such as items in a player's inventory or skill points. Pretty self-explanatory. You guys know when you're playing a game and you're playing, I don't know, it could be really anything. Like, it could be a battlegrounds game. You guys know you're playing a battlegrounds game, how it saves your total kills when you leave and come back. You're playing Souls RNG, like an RNG game, and then you join back, your auras are there. Or you play, I don't know, a Tycoon, all your cash is there. Well, for most tycoon games. Then there are some that don't, or a tower defense game. All your I don't really know how they work. I don't really know how a tower defense game work, but I'm just like, are your characters or stuff? I don't really know how that works, but yeah. So yeah, those are used by data stores. So one, data stores, like data can only be saved like via data stores and stuff on the server side. Like you cannot save a player's data on a local script. You can save it on a server script or a module script, but you can't save it on a local script. Now you do have to enable data stores. It's unlike other things in scripting where all you have to do is just type. No, you have to go to game settings, right? You have to go to permissions, or sorry, not permission. I always get this wrong. You have to go to security, and then you have to click enable studio access to API services. Make sure there's a screen, click save, publish just in case, right? And stuff, because you have to give permission for the data store to work, right? So the way we set up a data store is we open our script, right? First, we need to create a variable for our data store. So we would say local, and then we put the name of the data store. So let's say local example data store is equal to game get service. Like I said, we need the data store service. Then you would say get data store in quotation marks. You would then put the name of the data store. So let's say example data store. There we go. There's our data store, right? So then we would need to actually set up a function that actually uses the data store. So let's set up a function for whenever the player joins the game. We're going to say game.players.player added connect function in parentheses put PLR, which is short for the player who joined the game, then press enter, right? So this function will run whenever a player joins the game, as previously mentioned in part 1, right? So we are going to need to obviously, create some stats to actually, be saved. So let's say, there are some leader stats, like stuff we want to display on the Roblox default leaderboard. Let's create a leader stats folder, right? So first things first, if you want to create stats that appear like, you guys know, like in the top right, stats actually appear in the top right, you have to first create a leader stats folder. And it's actually a very specific way you have to go about it. So first things first is create a variable for it. So local, you're going to name it leader stats, and it's just as like the AI is clearly doing. You would say leader stats is equal to instance.new parentheses, quotation marks, then you would put folder, parent this to the player, then you would say leader stats.name is equal to, in quotation marks, leader stats. Now you need to make sure, however you spell the variable doesn't matter, but how you spell the actual in-game name, this is very important. It has to be spelled like this with a lowercase l. If you don't, it's not going to appear in the top right. Roblox will only set the leader stats. It will only include the values inside of the folder if it's named leader stats with with a lowercase l. Now we need to create an actual stat. So of course, by default, let's just do, cache. So we're going to say local cache. Here's how you create a value. You're going to say is equal to instance.new. Now, as you guys remember, I mentioned the different values. You have bool values, you have number values, you have string values. You also have int values, which I did not mention. Int values are actually, it's pretty much just a string and a number in one. Like you can set them to, like say if for whatever reason you had like a value that like you had like a value that you wanted to be able to like sometimes set to a string, sometimes set to a number. That's what you use an int value for and stuff. But I can't really imagine most cases, like a lot of scenarios where you'd really need a value like that. But yeah, so cache is obviously going to be a number value, right? And then we need to make sure we parent it correct. Do not parent it to the player. We need to parent it to leader stats so that we can actually see it in the top right. Then press enter. Then we're going to set the name. So cache.name is equal to, in quotation marks, cache, right? Then we also need to set the default value. Now, by default, the value is 0, but I just like to set it just in case. So cache.value is equal to 0, right? Now we need to make it so that keep in mind, this is all the default stuff. This is if a player is joining the game and it's like, this is their first time being here. We need to actually make it so that if a player has played the game before, then their data is going to, we're going to retrieve their data, and then we're going to load their data, right? So let's go ahead and create a variable. We're going to, first things first, create our key. We're going to say local key is equal to player.user ID. So the key, this is pretty much the identifier. This is the identifier associated with each individual player's data. Here's how you know which data belongs to which player and stuff. Now you could use a player's username. Obviously that is a horrible idea, as people can change their username, so that's very stupid, because if like two people switch usernames, then I don't know if you can like take someone else's old username, but the point is people can change usernames. It's not a reliable way and it's very stupid. use their user ID as a player cannot switch. Obviously, they can't change the user ID. They'd have to, make a new account, and that's on them if that's the case, right? So that's going to be our key. And then I'm going to use a protected call. Now, a protected call, this, I'm only showing you guys this because this is a reliable way of saving data and ensuring it's loaded properly, saved properly, and stuff. But really and truly, protected calls, you guys should not be using these until you are an intermediate level scripter, as it confused the hell out of me when I was figuring it out. So definitely you guys should not be using this stuff. But I'm just going to introduce it to you guys just so you know how to properly save data and load it as well. You're going to say local success, comma, error message, right, is equal to protected. P call is short for protected call. Then you're going to put function in the parentheses, then enter, right? So success, this pretty much just means that, okay, it worked. And then the first thing is, okay, here's how you know it worked. The second thing is, okay, it didn't work. And this is the message along with it, right? This is the error message. So that's pretty much how it works. So pretty much anything that could possibly fail, you would want to put inside of a protected call. Now, if you don't know, data, like retrieving a player's data as well as especially saving data, can actually, there are times where it can actually like have errors and stuff. Like say if too many players, like I don't know, like if for some odd reason, like I don't know, three different people, or not three, let's say like your game just had a shutdown because you just dropped a big update and stuff, so you have all these people trying to join the game at the same time. I'm pretty sure everybody knows, even before you start learning how to develop, you knew that's it's a lot of stress and a big toll on the server. So all the players data, that's all the players data, all the players that are trying to join, right, all of their data is currently being retrieved, or at least the server is trying to retrieve all of their data, and it's trying to load it so that the player can have it, is good to go for when they click play, or just whenever they get the loading screen and whatnot, right? So if it's a ton of people trying to load their data at once, or if you have like a manual save thing where like players can manually save their data, then you have to be careful with that, because trying to pretty much save data too many times, trying to pretty much call the data store service too many times to either retrieve data or save data, can result in errors and stuff. So we need to use protected calls to ensure players' data is saved and loaded, because if you don't have these measures in place, there are times where players could literally leave the game and their data doesn't save properly, or they could join the game and like it's like they join the game and it says they're level 0 and whatnot, or level 1 when they're really a level 99. So yeah, that's why it's important. So first things first, we're going to create another variable. This is going to be our data variable. You're going to say local data is equal to example data store, and then you're going to say wait, I'm trying to think actually. Dang, I'm not gonna lie, I actually forgot. Oh yeah, get async. I'm not gonna lie, my brain turned off for a solid second. Anyway, so get async. So as the name implies, this is you're retrieving the data. So you're getting it, right? So you're gonna put your key, as you can clearly see right there. So you're gonna throw the key, which is the player's user ID. So then you're gonna use an if statement. Remember, conditional statements. You're just simply gonna say if data. So enter. So if you didn't actually understand this from when I explained if conditional statements and stuff. So if you just put if and then a variable, and then you just put then, like if you don't put like if so and so is equal to whatever, if you just put it like this pretty much just means as long as it one exists, and two, as long as it's not nil, right? So like pretty much if this, right? So if I put if I said data, right? If I said local data, for example, actually, yeah, let me just use this example, which is perfect. So if I have data, a player when they're trying to join, they have data. It's gonna say if data. Okay, the player has data. We'll proceed. Now, say if I try joining the game for the first time, I don't have any data, so it's gonna look for my data. It's gonna be like, okay, there is no data, so we're not gonna proceed. So that's pretty much how it works. Then I'm going to say hash.value is equal to data regular brackets 1, because pretty much when you're saving multiple values of data into a data store, you have to specify which I guess you could say slot you want to save it in. Like when you add more values, like gems, ranks, I don't know, prestiges, whatnot, you would want to keep going. The whole point is you'd put the name of the value, the word dot value is equal to data, and then you would just keep going 2 3 4 5 6 7 and etc. That's how you would go, right? So we set this up, we click the arrow right here, then press enter, right? Then you're gonna say while not success, enter. Remember, we just talked about while loops, so pretty much while not success. So while it's not working and stuff, you're going to just copy and paste it. You're just going to control C and control V, boom. And then of course, remember we need a wait, because remember, while loops require a wait unless you want the server to crash, pretty much. So yeah, because in Studio it won't crash. Well, actually no, that actually depends on how well your computer is, because I do know that some like not so great computers can actually crash if Studio is like overwhelmed by like a while loop and stuff. But like in an actual server, no, that can actually crash the server and stuff if you have too many while loops and stuff, right? So yeah, so we would just set a player's data. Now, if the player doesn't have any data, nothing would happen. They would just have the default stuff and nothing would ever change. Now, I've showed you guys how to set up leader stats and how to create a data store and how to load data. Now we need to, of course, it's the most important part, saving data, right? So we actually have to set up another function. This is a function for whenever players leave the game. So game.players.player moving connect function, in parentheses put PLR, which is short for the player, then enter, right? If you actually want to know how to make manual saving, like if you want your game to have manual saving where a player presses like a button, save their data, I do have a video on that and stuff. But this is usually how most games save data. They usually save it when, you know, a player leaves the game, which is the most reliable and just generally easiest way, in my opinion, to save data. So yeah, so we're gonna do this a little differently, but we are gonna use another protected call. We're gonna, you know, same thing, local success comma error message is equal to pcall function in parentheses, then, you know, empty parentheses, enter, right? And then this time you're going to create a data table. You're gonna say local data table. Now I do want to specify the name of this is data table, but like is equal to special brackets. Remember I covered how to create tables. You use special brackets to create a table. It's called, the name of the variable is called data table because the values that we're going to be inserting into the table is going to be pieces of data, but this is just a regular table. I don't want to confuse people because I feel like if I only refer to it as a data table, people will think I'm like this is a different type of table or something. No, there's just tables. It's a regular table. Yeah. Then we're going to use a for I loop. Remember, covered this again. It's actually coincidence that I covered all this stuff prior to me getting to data stores. But yeah, I'm gonna say for I comma v in pairs, right? And then this time you're gonna say player dot, remember leader stats folder. Remember you have to spell everything exactly as it is. Dot leader stats. Remember colon get children, right? Then enter. Oh, sorry. Enter, right? So now that we've gotten all the children, then as the AI can clearly tell, we're going to say table.insert. Remember this is how we insert values. Our data table, comma, v dot value. Now I do want to clarify something. This only works if all of your values are inside of the leader stats folder. You do have to account for if some if some values are parented to like other things, like if there are some values parented to like a player's character, the player themselves, and not the leader stats folder, then you would have to, you know, reference that directly by saying like player.leaderstats dot sorry. You would do the same thing, right? You know, control C, control V, and then you would just do you would actually just get the value differently. You would just say player dot leader stat. You guys don't have to do this, but dot cache dot value. That's just how, that's another way you could do it, right? And that's actually how I used to do it before. So yeah, that's how you do it. So here's how we would set up data saving. Then the last thing we have to do is actually officially save the data. We've gotten all the data and we've put it inside of a data table. Now we just need to save it. We would then say example data store set async. You would throw your key in there. Oh man, I forgot to actually create that. Let's go ahead and create the variable real quick. Local key, you guys remember player.user ID, same thing as in the first function. You're going to throw your key in there, then comma, you're going to throw your data table. Now there is actually another way. You can do it like this. You can actually just create a table inside here and then just put the values in individually. But I used to do it like that a long time ago, but it's too much because then you pretty much have like a long, like you just have like a very long line of just like values stretching across the screen, and then you'd have to like scroll through it. Like it's kind of messy, honestly. Like it's just a mess, really. But yeah, then we're gonna go after it. We're gonna do the same thing while not success, enter. You guys remember, copy and paste, control C, control V, go after it. All while loops need a wait, so task.wait 3 seconds. You guys can decide how much time you want, and boom, just like that, you have officially set up your first data store. We can go ahead and test to make sure this works. I'll show you guys how we can test this. So if I go ahead and click play, you guys should see you guys are going to see leader stat pop up in the top right. You should say cache with 0, right? So of course, to make sure it saves, we need to actually, you know, set our cache value. Now, I just want to clarify. Remember, data saving only occurs on the server side. So obviously, since we're on the client side, we can't go to players and change the value. Because no, this is the client side. We have to click that, make sure we're on the server side, then change the value. So open up, you guys, you have the leader stats folder, which is parented to the player. Then we're going to adjust the number value, which is cache. And then I'm going to set the value equal to, let's say, 20, right? Now I do want to explain something, right? A basic concept. So you guys know how in an actual, if you've ever actually been like an admin for a game or something, or been a developer or whatnot, in an actual Roblox server, when the last player leaves the game, the server does not instantly shut down. I feel like a lot of people know that, but just in case you didn't know that, server, like if you're the last person in game and you leave, the server does not instantly shut down. The server actually shuts down about a few minutes after the server has been empty. The reason for that is literally because of data saving. It's to give the server enough time to make sure that like it's done all of its cleanup duties it needs to, you know, done, which pretty much the only real cleanup duty it would have to do that require the server to stay open is just to save all the players' data. But yeah, so in Studio, things are a little different since it's not an actual server. When you press stop, it stops. Like there is no delay, there is no few seconds, or there's no few it doesn't stay open for minutes and stuff. No, like it stops after like 3 seconds if you playing of you clicking the button. So the way we make up for it not having a delay is we have to create our own delay by pretty much, you're going to click server, you're going to delete your player's instance from the player side, from the player's service. Now that you guys see how it said disconnect from, that's the same message that appears when you press stop. That by deleting your player's instance from the player service, that is essentially the same thing as leaving the game, but you're leaving the server open. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as pretty much you're just leaving the game, but the server is still up and running. So after a few seconds, you go ahead and press stop, right? Then we click play again. It should in top right say data, cache 20. Now if it doesn't, don't panic, try it again. If it doesn't work again, what I'd recommend doing is publishing it and testing it in an actual server. Testing data storage in Studio is a little weird. It's better to test it in like actual servers and stuff. But yeah, so that's data storage and stuff. The next two topics are gonna reach to these in like 5 minutes and stuff. So let's go ahead and delete all of our data. Let's go ahead and delete all of this line of code. So the next thing is math.random. Pretty self-explanatory. Math.random. It chooses a random number between an interval. So if we just simply type, let's say print, right, and then in parentheses we're going to say math dot, make sure you don't do rad or random seed, random. So you guys see how it says returns a random number within the range provided. So obviously this is, you know, your first number. Then n is your second number. So say if I wanted a number between 1 and 10, I put 1, 10. And then if I go ahead and click run, it's going to give me a number between 1 and 10. Now, obviously, it won't be the same number. Well, there's a chance it could be, but it more likely won't, as it's saying 1 in 10 chance, right? And obviously, you can make this number big as you want. You know, it could be 100. I think it was like 100,000 and stuff, right? Also, your starting value could be like 1,000. Like, yeah, there's really no limits, realistically speaking, of course, right? So it's really up to you guys and stuff. That's math.random. They're useful and stuff if you're trying to randomize things. Like if you want to randomize like something spawning somewhere, a player spawning somewhere, item spawning somewhere, yeah, things of that nature, or like I guess countdowns and stuff. So yeah, very useful. It's very simple and very easy to use, as you can clearly see. And then the last thing is vector 3. So vector 3s are pretty much coordinates in a 3D plane. Pretty much vector 3s is another word for the positions and stuff, like the position of instances. So this block, for example, right? All parts have a position, right? So if you scroll down, I just want to clarify, there's a difference between positions and C-frames, right? I do just want to clarify that, right? Like even though the position is parented to the C-frame, the C-frame and positions are like different. I just wanted to make that clear. But yeah, so as you guys can clearly see right here, this is our position, right? You guys see how we have an X, a Y, and a Z. Now, assuming all of you are in high school, you should remember coordinate algebra, where you have a grid. You guys know how you have the X-axis, the Y-axis. Yeah. So pretty much with X, when you move to the left, X gets less and less. That's the negative side. When you move to the right, X increases. It's the positive side. When Y When y increases, it goes up. That's the positive side. When y decreases, it goes down. That's the negative side, right? Now, the introduction of z, so pretty much the way it works is x is left and right. Y is up and down, and then Z is just forward and backward. That's pretty much what they are, right? So if I wanted to change this position, I could just set it to 40, and that would actually change it drastically since it literally was a negative number before, right? I just changed the x value. Now, say if I wanted it to go up, I could do 20. It's now up in the air. So that's pretty much vector 3 coordinates. Now to write these in an actual script, like say if you wanted to set the position of a part, for example, right? We could say workspace dot part dot position. You guys see vector 3 describes the position of the part in the world is equal to, you're gonna have to say vector 3 dot new. You can't just write the numbers. Vector 3 dot new in parentheses. Then you put the x value, the y value, and the z value, right? So we could say 10 comma 20 comma 30, right? And then it would set the position to wherever that is. Also, boom, right there, right? Obviously, since it's not anchored, it wouldn't stay in midair, right? But yeah, so that's vector 3 coordinates and stuff. So yeah, like I said, I'll keep this series going as long as it keeps getting love and support and stuff. So pretty much it's up to you guys and stuff. If you guys have any topics you want me to cover that I haven't covered already and stuff, just let me know in the comments and stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys in my future videos and stuff. On the way to 10,000. Wait, sorry, not 10,000. On the way to 9,000 subscribers and stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for all the love and support you guys been showing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you all for watching.